How are the Minnesota Vikings going to beat the Arizona Cardinals? It's a tough question to ask because the Cardinals are a really good football team and they have a very intriguing quarterback in Kyler Murray, who's small in stature, but huge in talent. They were able to do it 2 years ago, and they were this close to doing it 3 years ago as well. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the bevy of roster moves the Vikings have made over the past 24 hours. And we're also going to talk about Thanksgiving foods and why gravy is the best food ever served on Thanksgiving. Welcome to the Real Forno Show.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Real Forno Show, hosted by the one and only Tyler Forness. A to Z Sports sought him out to be their Minnesota Vikings reporter and NFL analyst. And he's a proud contributor over at SKOL North's Purple Daily. Tyler is also the captivating host of The Good, The Bad, and The Hungry on the Voices of Wrestling Podcast Network, and a founding member of Vikings First and SKOL.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a second episode of the Real Forno Show here on this Wednesday. I'm your host, Tyler Forness. With me, as always, is producer Dave up in the top left corner. I forgot my bush light because I am a great planner of the podcast. I'm sure Dave has the bourbon rocking ready to go because, of course, he does. I'm just going to sit here and drink my water. But welcome. We're ready to have a little bit of fun here tonight. We're going to have some food fun toward the end of the show, talking about some Thanksgiving food, some traditions and stuff. Just because, you know what? It's good to have conversations about some random stuff and just have some fun. So, something to keep in mind. We'll definitely take some input from the chat later on tonight, so you won't want to miss that. In the meantime, let's talk about these Minnesota Vikings, Dave. It's been a really busy audio day for us. I've done video for my shoot job, A to Z Sports. This is now my second video here with you, and you just did one a couple hours ago on the channel, Who Will Be King. Go check both videos that we did earlier today out when you're done with this episode, or if you're on audio, go listen to the podcast. It rules. So let's talk about it because it's interesting. The Vikings roster moves over the past 2 days. Let's just do in totality what the Vikings have done. They have waived Nick Muse on his birthday, nonetheless. They signed Gabe Murphy to the active roster. They activated him. They put Ivan Pace Jr. on injured reserve. Then they have not announced the Daniel Jones signing officially yet. Kevin O'Connell did say they're still working through some contractual things. Basically, they're just getting the nuts and bolts. It's a little confusing with Jones being paid by two organizations because he has fully guaranteed money from New York. So they're trying to work that out. They expect him here on Friday.
Crossing the T's.
Exactly. But then they also waived Gabe Murphy today and signed Nick Muse to the practice squad. And then they signed long snapper Jake McQuaid to the active roster. Now, this is a big one. McQuaid had already been elevated 3 times from the practice squad, so we knew this was coming. We knew 100% that this was coming. We didn't know how they were going to get there. And it makes sense with Murphy. He has not played a single down of NFL football, not in the preseason, not in the regular season. So being able to slide him onto the practice squad at this point feels like a pretty safe bet. We'll see if they're actually able to do it because shit happens. Nobody thought of Caleb Evans would get claimed either. Now he's a Carolina Panther. So kind of looking at those things.
The Lions may snatch him.
Who?
Murphy?
Nah, maybe, I guess, but I doubt it.
Edge rushing help. But
yeah, but like the edge rushing help that they would probably target, I'm guessing wouldn't be Gabe Murphy. But you never know. They also signed Jamin Davis, the former first-round pick of the Washington Commanders from 2021. We talked extensively about him earlier this morning after we got done with the Daniel Jones discussion. Think of him as a bigger Ivan Pace with more movement skills and over aggressive. in a bad way. So aggressiveness is fine. You want your players to be aggressive, but you want them to be calculated with it. And what I mean is you want them to be intentionally aggressive. You want them to be smart with how they're aggressive. Being aggressive to be aggressive is not a good thing. It can put you in really bad situations. You can crash the wrong gap in a run fit. You can overrun a receiver, and then all of a sudden they cook you for a touchdown. Think of how Ivan Pace over pursued to one side, and then Kyron Williams got that inside Texas route touchdown in the first quarter of that Rams game. Easy. Just he took a few 2 steps, over pursued, and Kyron Williams just put his foot in the ground and boop, easy money. Like, you can't do some of those things. You have to stay controlled and calculated. And that's something Davis has struggled with. So will it work? I don't know. I think you have to lean no on these things, but this is a classic Kwesi reclamation project. If you can get anything out of him, it's great. It's awesome. It rocks. Don't expect it. You can't expect anything from a situation like this, because there's a reason why this former first-round pick is available in November of the final year of his rookie contract. But the vision is they think he's kind of a bigger version of Ivan Pace, but he's more comfortable dropping in zone, more comfortable moving laterally. And maybe Brian Flores thinks, hey, I can get him to play smarter and with better eyes and make better decisions. And the rest is gravy, because boom, he's got all this athleticism to work with. You're not always going to find that. So sometimes it's easier to teach somebody what to look for, how to react, how to do those things. Well, you can't teach speed. You can't teach quickness. You can't teach size and length. Davis has all those. That's why those guys go in the first round when they probably shouldn't, when they're not quite at a position where, hey, they're ready to play. They get those positions. They get those opportunities, Dave, because they're freak athletes. 9.93 relative athletic score. A 42-inch vertical jump. 42 inches. Pretty bonkers, right?
Put him on special teams on that field goal blocking team.
And you know what? I think they are going to do that. I think they're going to do some of those things. I think they're going to make things happen. And I can't wait. I think this is going to be really, really interesting to kind of take a look and see what the Vikings are going to try to do.
It is going to be interesting. There's been a lot of movement this week, which is crazy. But I think it's going to be, in the long run, all for the good.
Mm-hmm. Delton says, word on the street, he runs a 4.4. Yep, he ran a 4.47 at the combine 4 years ago.
Wow. For a linebacker, that's lying.
He's basically in A.J. Brown's body, but plays linebacker. That's kind of what you're looking at. I mean, A.J. Brown's like maybe 10 pounds lighter, but that's the guy. That's the guy we're talking about here. And it's wild to consider that. But that's what we're looking at. And if there's anybody who I'm going to trust to maybe be able to get something out of a second-level defender like that, Brian Flores. Brian Flores understands how to use players with specific skill sets. And I think his ability to blitz, his ability to be explosive off the ball, just have him crash downhill. Hey, you're going to attack this gap, and you're going to attack it hard and fast. Okay. That's what they do with Pace, and Pace is great at that kind of stuff. So maybe if you can get the same kind of production from Davis, you can see something come from it. And I think that would be objectively great here, Dave, because I love the idea of what Jamin Davis could be. I don't know if he'll be anything. If he would have been, he probably would still be with the Commanders. But it's a lot easier for a new regime, and we saw this when Kwesi Adofo-Mensah took over, when he cut 3 of the 4 third-round picks from 2021 in the 2022 offseason. It's easier for them to move on because there's no attachment. They're not going to get in trouble for letting these guys go unless they hit it big somewhere else, which none of them did. Because, look, they fired the guy who made those picks. So it's kind of like starting with a clean slate. And Dan Quinn, Adam Peters come in. They don't believe in Davis. They were like, hey, this guy just isn't that good. We're going to replace him. It happens. But he also earned it happening. And I think that's something that, like, we can be kind of intrigued by it, but it's not something where we should be like overexcited, like, oh my gosh, this is going to work. This is going to be great. He's going to be the next star. He's probably just a rotational special teams guy, but there is upside. So it's intriguing to take a look. Like the only reason why Adam Thielen ended up getting a look, other than the hard work and all that stuff, dude could scoot. He could run really fast. They're going to take chances on guys who maybe you have no idea if they'll be any good because they have good athletic traits. They have tools to build with. If I can build you into a football player based on your tools, it's a no-brainer to give it a shot. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you hit a massive home run like with Thielen. Thielen is a one of like 10,000 kind of guy. Him, players like Kurt Warner, Rod Smith was another undrafted free agent. He had almost 1,000 receptions for the Broncos. They're very, very hard to find. But if you have a guy who has first round pedigree, they're going to be way more apt to get second and third and fourth chances because they got that athleticism. They got the pedigree. Even if it's not deserved at this point anymore, they have it. They're not going to lose it. General managers love taking former 5-star prospects in the draft because you know what? They were viewed as high upside players. Oh, and this is where the dichotomy between coaching staffs and front offices need to be different. Coaches have a mindset where I can fix you. I can make you into a good player. And that's a mindset a coach should have, right? But you need the general manager to tell him to shut up and no, you can't. He's not good. And I'm not going to have you waste your time. Like, that's why you need kind of, it's like a checks and balances system, a yin and a yang. You need somebody to level the coach out and be like, you can't fix everybody. You're going to fix people and you're going to be great at it, but you can't fix everybody. And I'm going to tell you when it's no. So that's something to keep in mind as well. It's hard to find those kinds of diamonds in the rough. The fact that Koichiro Fomensa found Ivan Pace Jr. is awesome. But I mean, Draft Media had him as a 4th-round pick. He only didn't go drafted because he's small boy. At a certain point, size doesn't matter. Like that, like he is not a massive outlier. He's an outlier. But he weighed over 230 pounds. He was just short. You take a guy at a certain point because, you know what? Talent and production just matters over a little bit of size. It's not like Pace was a bad athlete. He was a fine athlete. Like, and this is where I'm really intrigued by Davis because the athleticism is there. But he just hasn't put it together. Is this the same Darnold situation where some coaching will help? I want to find out. I'm not going to hold out anything other than a little bit of optimism. Not going to expect anything. And that's where I think you should be too. Let's see what happens. Maybe some good. At worst, he goes zoom on special teams. And that's fun.
It is.
Yeah.
And we miss a certain Speedy on special teams. The Flash.
Mm-hmm.
This year.
Yeah, we do. Yes, we do.
Now, who is it that's Reichert's playing? Not Reichert. Richter is playing well. But we do miss some good coverage. But it is what it is. But speaking of short and diminutive in size, we play somebody that falls into that category this weekend.
Yeah. I'm really, really interested to kind of see what ends up happening here. Kind of taking a look. And you guys know that what I do is I take a look at neutral situations. So when the win probability is between 10 and 90%, because that's when you get the bulk of your information. That's when you get to see whether the Vikings are legit or anybody. And you get to see how they act when the game's still in doubt. Because once the game's not in doubt, play calls diminish. It's base coverages. It's base route concepts. You're not doing anything really to game plan. You're just trying to survive and get out of there. So those things all matter. And this is why I like to look specifically at those neutral situations. So let's kind of take a look at the Cardinals. They're a very spunky team. They don't have a ton of talent yet. They are still rebuilding from the talent phase, but they're coaching. Nick Rawlis, the defensive coordinator, Drew Petzing, the offensive coordinator, have done a fantastic job into building those units into overachieving based on what their talent level is. And I think that can't be overstated enough. The Vikings are in the same sphere. The Vikings' talent is good, but they're playing like they have elite level talent, and they just don't. That's not an insult. You want coaches that can elevate your players and help them get to that kind of point. You want to have coaches who can take good players and make them play great and make the unit play great. That's what the Vikings have. And you know what? The Cardinals do too. And credit to Jonathan Gannon, who was laughed at as a coaching candidate. And that video of him talking to the players that leaked out, or maybe it was the press conference where he just looked like he was lost and he looked like he had no confidence whatsoever. People were like, oh, this is going to be a one and done. This is a terrible head coaching hire. It looks pretty good right now. Gannon's done a great job in Arizona, and I don't think that can be stated enough. But they are still rebuilding, but they're 6-5 in rebuilding. That's a great place to be because now you have the systems in place. Now you have the structure in place. One more offseason to get some good talent. Boom. You can take things to a different level. And I'm really, really excited to kind of see how they end up manifesting that this year. This past draft, they took Marvin Harrison Jr. 4th overall, and then at 27th overall, they took Darius Robinson from Missouri. I loved Darius Robinson. I loved his film. That dude was fun, explosive, long. He kind of was built like Calais Campbell, except like an inch or two shorter because Calais Campbell was 6'7". But Robinson had almost 36-inch arms. He was 6'5", just a very well put together individual. And he's very nice. I spoke with him at the Senior Bowl, and he was a very nice person. Because you can kind of tell those guys are all media trained. You can tell if they're nice or you can tell if they're blowing smoke up your butt because they just have to be nice because they know how it's their job. You can tell who's real and who's not. Because none of them want to talk to you unless you start talking like real ball or like Will McDonald, the New York Jets edge rusher, Dave, a couple years ago. He ended up standing in a group of like 8 people and was just talking anime with them for about 25 minutes. And they're like, Will, we got to go. He's like, no, I'm having fun. Like, it was just talking, no recorders, just talking with people about cool anime. It was awesome. Like, that's the kind of stuff that you can get out of some of these guys because you're just treat them like people. They're not farm animals. Like, they're there to help you get content. Sure, you're there to learn about them, but treat them like people. I bet a
Reef wasn't in that circle.
I actually think he was for a minute, but it wasn't because he likes anime. So,
hey, and Arif, our buddy, our pal, friend of the show, Arif Hassan, who, if you haven't already subscribed to Wide Left, he does great football work. And has for years. But the joke is he does not like anime.
Oh, it's not a joke. That's a shoot. He hates anime. He hates anime.
All right. Delton mentioned before that Arizona has not won in Minnesota.
What's that?
The Cardinals.
Arizona's not won in Minnesota? Oh, that's interesting.
The Cardinals have not won since 1977. They were in St. Louis then.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Let's take a look.
It's like 11-game win streak. So, I think Arizona has some good pieces, and we're going to see a competitive game. But I think they can be defeated easily enough. We're back home, well rested, relatively healthy. Wink, wink. We had an injury report come out today. Most everybody on it's limited.
Yeah.
Minus 2 or 3 players that were DMPs. One was because of rest, Harrison Phillips. Old man rest.
Hey, you know what? Get those guys rest. I don't care. Doesn't matter to me.
Oh yeah, it helps.
Wow. So more context with what Dalton said. The Vikings didn't play the Cardinals at home from 1977, which was their last loss, and they were the St. Louis Cardinals, like you mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't play them again at home until 1991. 14-year gap between playing them on the road and at home, and some of that is going to be, there are a couple times of expansion and schedule algorithms change. Probably just a fluke because of that. But yeah, they have
back in 77 and even probably 1991. It wasn't done by computer. It was done by some schmucks in New York with shits on a board.
So the Vikings have won 11 in a row at home, and they are 12-4 at home overall against the Cardinals. And the Vikings are 18-12 against the Cardinals overall, meaning they are 6-8 on the road, which whatever, who cares? That's fine.
Yeah, but a lot of those came when it was the St. Louis Cardinals, and they happen to be decent.
Or
all the way back to the Jim Hart days.
3 of the 8 losses were against the St. Louis Cardinals on the road. They lost to the Arizona Cardinals in 94, the infamous Nate Poole game, and they've lost their last 3 on the road. The E.J. Henderson broken leg game, the 2015 when the Cardinals were really, really good. I think it was a Thursday night game when Teddy Bridgewater just could not come back in the final seconds to get a game-tying score. And then the Greg Joseph miss a couple years ago. I remember watching that. We had TV in the garage. We were just having a great time. And then misses the field goals. It was very deflating. But this is a good Cardinals team. Kind of taking a look at some of the advanced metrics. Offensively, they're slightly above average. EPA per play is 11th in the league. And the reason why we use EPA per play is it's more of a measure of the total offense rather than like individual players. Individual players still get EPA numbers, and it's good to kind of look at those, especially in comparison to other people. But it's a piece to the puzzle, but it gives you a good synopsis of where things are before you really start to dive in. But they're 9th in success rate, meaning 46.4 of all their plays are deemed successful. And now remember, success rate, you get 5 or more yards on first down. You're within 3 yards of a first down and second down. 3rd and 4th down, you need to get a first down. That is how you deem plays being successful. Anytime you get a first down or a touchdown, it's deemed successful as well. So they're doing a pretty good job of being successful on offense. They're actually have a better success rate and EPA per play right now than the Minnesota Vikings. But one of the interesting things is the Vikings actually have a higher dropback EPA than Cardinals at 0.142 to 0.133. The Vikings rush EPA is significantly worse by almost 1/10 of a point, which is a significant, amount. I just got the hiccups. Not fun.
You're not even drinking. Well, the rush, if they're 1.1 greater, that could be chalked up to Murray, can it not?
In the run game?
Yeah.
I would have to look at the splits, but James Conner is really good in the run game.
Mm-hmm.
But the Vikings are also like the number one rush defense in football. Mm-hmm. And defensively, the Vikings are number 1 in EPA allowed per play. At one point this season, after like 5 games going in the bye week, it was like negative 0.3. It's down to negative 0.174 in neutral situations, which is fine. The more tape you get on a defense, the easier it's going to be to dissect. Now you got to start coming up with counters, different simulated pressures, different coverage looks to try and confuse the quarterback. Success rate, the Vikings are 2nd at 37.4. The Texans defense is 1st at 37% success allowed. Vikings are number 2 in dropback EPA per play allowed. Number 3 in dropback success rate. 1st in rush EPA per play at negative 0.335. They do not allow you to run the football. And all the underlying metrics kind of confirm that. Rushing success rate is only at 30.7%. Only the Lions are close at 31.3. So it's going to be hard for the Cardinals to run the football. They also have some offensive line issues. It's easy to kind of take advantage of them. They're just not a good offensive line. They're kind of okay-ish right now. And when you kind of take a look at some of that stuff, you can get to Kyler Murray. And one of the things you really need to do is you need to play contain with him. Remember last week, Caleb Williams kept breaking contain.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you have to keep him in the pocket and you have to be able to not let him scramble, because one of the things that makes him unique is he's so small. Mm-hmm. He's 5'10", but he's not small. He's small in height. He's not small in stature. He is thickly built. He weighs like 215 pounds. And when he runs, he kind of looks like Mighty Mouse because he's small, but you know exactly what I'm saying. Mighty Mouse ruled. I loved the Mighty Mouse cartoon. It wasn't Yogi Bear, but it was very good. Mm-hmm. And when you have that, he just can kind of slither away from you. And you got to be careful to not hit him in the head because he's so much shorter than other quarterbacks. But there's ways you can take advantage of him too, because it's easier to pass it down in theory. But there actually, to my knowledge, there aren't a lot of stats that show height actually correlates with passes being batted down, because guys like Peyton Manning would have passes batted down like crazy, and Peyton Manning was like 6'4". So just something to be aware of. It
makes it a little more difficult to see around your lineman.
Mm-hmm. The guys who are shorter make a really, really conceited effort to kind of create their own passing lanes by sliding just a half a foot to the left, half a foot to the right, and finding windows. And that's, to me, why you don't see as many of their passes being batted down, because why would you need to just throw like normal? Guys who are like 6 foot, 6'1", they'll throw like normal, and those guys are the ones who usually have their passes batted down. Kirk Cousins had a decent amount of passes batted down. He was 6'2.5". Like that, there's so many factors with that. But Kyler Murray, electric arm talent. He can hit every throw, every single one, and he can scoot, he can run, and he's good about not getting hit. He does a lot of those things, and you really need to play contain. I wonder if the Vikings might try to play some more man. They did not respect the Bears defense last week. They really didn't. And because of that, disrespect towards the Bears defense, like, they just played man up, and the Vikings are not good at playing man. They're just not. And like, I mean, good is a relative term. Like, they're about average playing man coverage, but you don't want them playing man coverage against really good receiving groups. Marvin Harrison Jr. is a really good receiver, but Michael Wilson, he's kind of fine. Greg Dortch is popular among film guys, but he's average at best. Trey McBride, the tight end, is one who could really torch you. So it wouldn't shock me if like they have a guy like Metellus on him 24/7 to just make sure that he doesn't take advantage of him, because McBride is very, very good. But overall, I do think this game is pretty winnable for the Minnesota Vikings. They just need to play within themselves. Defensively, the Cardinals, they can be taken advantage of, Dave. Cardinals, they're a fun defense, but they just don't have the horses yet. Like, they can do some fun things. They've got some really cool blitz packages. Jonathan Gannon is from the Mike Zimmer coaching tree. So he does some Mike Zimmer stuff. He does some other unique things too.
I was going to bring it up.
Yeah. He's got some creative stuff in the bag. So, like, some of these numbers are a little, I'm not going to call them inflated, but the defense is not as bad as what some of these numbers are. They're 28th in EPA per play allowed at a positive 0.102 success rate. They are actually, I'm trying to find them because the Cardinal is a little tough to find. Oh, they're 31st in success rate allowed. Dropback EPA, they're 29th. Dropback success rate, they're last. So, and in the run game, they're better. They're average, 17th in EPA per play, but 28th in success rate. So they're not going to allow a lot of big runs, but they'll allow you to be successful with those runs. It's a passing game. This is a Sam Darnold game. This is try to get Justin Jefferson open and get him the ball a lot. Get Addison involved. Get Hawkinson involved. These are going to be the ways that you beat the Arizona Cardinals. You're going to want to beat them through the air. And I think it's not going to say it's going to be easy because they're going to have some things for Sam Darnold, and they can force turnovers. Play solid football. Don't let the Cardinals kind of get confidence. Don't let them get a lot of blitz packages early on. Don't give them reasons to stay in the game and attack. I think you can really take advantage of these guys and win big. And that's what I want to see. Take advantage of this defense. Take advantage of the talent gap. There's a talent gap here. Attack the corners. Like, there's not a good pass rush from the Cardinals. They just don't have the dudes yet. And this is where, like, that conversation. They're playing well. They're very well coached, but they don't have the horses yet. And this is where you can exploit that. Would not shock me if the Vikings win by double digits. Not going to say they're going to, because the Cardinals have a dude at quarterback. They're very well coached. But it would not shock me if the Vikings win by 10 to 15 points.
How is he in a hostile stadium? Because the crowd's going to be loud. Yes.
Oh, Kyle, I'm not worried about Kyler. He's played in some very
line.
Yeah. I'm not too worried about it. I get it. I get the concern, but it hasn't been something that has really struck me as being something to be concerned about.
Gotcha. We had some more Danny Dimes discussion. Joshua says, if Cam and KOC had the slightest doubt of McCarthy, they would have probably signed Jones for a 2-year deal. Jones's deal is not technically complete yet.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's more of a tryout deal of whether we re-sign him next year as a bridge style quarterback.
They're not signing Jones because of anything to do with JJ McCarthy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this has nothing to do with JJ McCarthy in the future. Well, never mind. It nothing to do with JJ McCarthy's health in the future. It does have something to do with JJ McCarthy because they're going to need to have another veteran quarterback in the room with him. And that's probably not Sam Darnold. And I think that needs to be taken into consideration here. They're trying to, it's essentially like, hey, if you can't get a starting job, stay here and be the backup. Learn with me. Learn with us. And then we can send you on your merry way. And you can potentially get another starting job. Mm-hmm. Like, this isn't like, I don't think this has anything to do with worry about JJ McCarthy's knee. I don't think there's anything to worry about his health. Maybe you want somebody to start a game or two next year, which I sincerely doubt. I think this is just trying to make a mountain out of a molehill. Jones it's good to have depth with starting experience, and you're getting it at an incredibly inexpensive price. Take advantage of it. You can't have too many quarterbacks that have started real football games, meaningful football games. Doesn't matter. Like, look, there's a reason Daniel Jones is available. We're not blind to that fact. But it's good to have a guy like Daniel Jones as your third or fourth option. That's really good, especially considering if he's on the practice squad and maybe for like $150,000, which is like me giving Dave $5.
Yeah.
Like, that's fine. Don't stress about it. Don't worry about it. It's fine. It's no big deal. It's not going to impact JJ McCarthy being the guy next year. The one thing that could impact JJ McCarthy being the guy next year is Sam Darnold continuing to ball out. That's what you need to worry about if you're like, oh, why is JJ McCarthy not going to start? It's because Darnold became a franchise guy. And I think he is, but I also don't think he's the Vikings franchise guy yet. That is still a possibility. Just plant that in the back of your heads.
Somebody said the Simpsons predicted that we win the Super Bowl. I could not find that. But
that was a recent episode. Yeah.
Okay. Motown Mitch, I expected to see you on the NFC North show. I did at 4:00 this afternoon called Who Will Be King? You joined the Lions guys from bleachers to speakers. We had quite the discussion today.
Hey, that's good.
You would have loved it. They're worried about your injuries, though. You guys are awful hurt this week.
No, David Montgomery potentially out. Amon-Ra St. Brown potentially out. Man, the guy I'm playing in the second round we do 2-week playoffs in my dynasty league. He's got both Montgomery and Amon-Ra St. Brown. Oh, buddy. It would be
They
hilarious
expect
if
both
either
those guys to play, however.
Well, we'll see how well they play.
And Amon-Ra will probably start as a kick returner because they don't have anybody back there. And that's scary because we know that's a dangerous position.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, buddy. And but they expect Montgomery was almost wanted to come back in last week, and they said, coach said, no, we'll wait for next week when you play your old team. So I expect those guys, but there's other ones that are hurt. And it's going to be interesting because the Bears are pissed off. Eberflus is possibly coaching for his life. We'll find out how that goes.
Mm-hmm.
No problem, Joshua. We'll find out. I think the Jones signing is a reclamation project, just like Darnold was, and he's taken full advantage of it. I quoted a tweet that he was looking for a contender to go with and a nurturing coaching staff to help improve him. And that's why he chose the Vikings. And if he does, and he accepts it this year, I don't know how much you're going to get with 6 more games of getting him up to his, a better level, and then he walks and gets, starter job someplace else, or if he elects to stay and go another year and be the bridge quarterback behind JJ McCarthy and get that extra year. I don't know. Do the Sam Darnold type deal where he sits and watches behind a good team, good coaching, get some coaching. We'll find out, but we're not at that point yet. We'll discuss that at the end of the season once it's over, how they plan on doing that.
Yeah.
Motown says, yeah, Lions are very banged up.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? I'm excited for that Lions-Bears game. I'm going to miss a good portion of the first half driving to my aunt and uncle's house. They're close to an hour away from me, I think, which, that's fine. But
it's the only one I actually do not want to miss any part of.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, and then you got Dallas and whoever Dallas is playing, and then you have Miami going to Green Bay. Oh, it's Dallas and the Giants, I think.
Yeah, it's Dallas and the Giants, and then Dolphins, Packers. That's going to be the one to watch. That.
Yeah, except for to see how Tua does in 20-degree temperatures. Teams.
As long as it's not windy, I'm not concerned about the cold. I'm more concerned about the wind.
He is.
Yeah. Speaking of Thanksgiving, let's end the show with some fun Thanksgiving talk. What was I going to say? Yeah, in the chat, what are your guys' favorite foods, traditions? Let's have a fun conversation here because my family, we haven't done this in a while, mainly because most of us are adults and we can just gamble for real. But we used to gamble on every game. And we used to do a pool. So I don't know how you would necessarily quantify it, but it was $1 per number, and if the score at the end of each quarter ended with that certain number, you'd get the money. Well, I'll never forget, it was a Cowboys game circa 2001, 2002. And at the end of the second quarter, they missed the extra point. And it cost me like $30. I will never, ever forget that. I will never forget that. I was so mad. Peach cobbler's a good one. But that was about the only thing that we did other than just get together and we just screwed around and hung out all day. It was awesome. Was there anything that you guys did or that you guys currently do, Dave, that's kind of fun?
Not that we currently do. I do remember as growing up, I was in high school and we were visiting my grandmother on my dad's side. And it was in New York, upstate New York. And we went there, and of course, she's a good Italian woman, and her Italian sausage bread was just, oh God, was that awesome. And it was more
Wait,
of an
what?
Italian sausage bread.
Oh my God, that sounds great.
It's like a French loaf, only it's made with Italian sausage inside, and it's a rolled loaf, and it's fantastic. And it was more of an Italian Thanksgiving. Now we had turkey and everything as well, but a lot of the dishes were Italian. But I remember going up on the back of the hill. There was a high school field up there, and we'd play football and throw the football around and have a good time. Food was great. Football was great. You know, it was the perfect style of Thanksgiving that reminds me all the time. It's one of those memories I'll keep for my lifetime. And it's great. And, you know, there's been others where the whole family, we put on a huge spread of food and had friends over. And it's just, it's a wonderful day to give thanks to the friends and family that you have in your life. And it's David Rinaldi talking about it, being from upstate, Italian from upstate New York as well. And it's one of my favorite holidays of the year. Now, obviously, I love watching football. Most of it's dog games because, Motown, the Lions have been bad for so many years. But it's a tradition. It's an American tradition that's just better than none. And with my kids, we'd get up and we'd watch the Macy's Day Parade. And, you know, we'd start cooking and doing all that fun stuff. And it's an absolute blast. Now, when it comes to food, my favorite part of Thanksgiving has always 100% been the pies. I'm a pie guy. It could be pecan, it could be pumpkin, it could be cherry, it could be any sort of pie other than coconut. I can't stand coconut. That you can think of. I've loved the pies, but we've done traditional turkey, mashed potatoes, gravy, green beans, not necessarily casserole. However, I don't mind the casserole that much. Done Southern mac and cheese, always cranberries with the turkey, always. And I've done it from cooking from scratch to ocean spray canned. It's a great holiday. And it's a pure American holiday. Yes, the Canadians celebrate Thanksgiving. Not on this day, but they do. And it's a wonderful deal. And I hope it never goes away and never loses its significance. And football has always been a part of it. High school, we played on Thanksgiving Day. It was wonderful.
That's cool. Yeah. One of my favorite things about Thanksgiving is food, football, family. You get to spend time with family, and I eat a lot of food. Listen, David says he is an Italian from upstate, and he says I have no idea about Italian sausage bread. Somebody wants to send it to me. I would love to try it. That sounds incredible.
And Grandma Stefano, she's long passed. If I could find that recipe, I would. I'll have to do some search. But it was sausage bread. And the grease, you know, was absorbed by the bread in parts. And you had the sausage chunk. Oh, God, it was awesome. It was wonderful.
Oh, I can't wait. The two best things about Thanksgiving for me, other than, you know, the football, the family, and all that stuff. One, turkey gravy with all the drippings is the greatest thing God has ever created on Thanksgiving. Gravy is the best Thanksgiving food. It is a food. I will not hear that it is a condiment. It is a food. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I tweeted that earlier today. I also said stuffing stinks, and I stand by that. I think stuffing stinks. I understand if you like it, that's fine. You are entitled to your opinion.
Well,
Stuffing
there's
stinks.
stuffing and there's dressing.
Stuffing stinks.
A lot of people say that's where you're from that makes a difference, but there's a difference.
It's all the same. You can have your little tweaks. You can have your different names. That construct, it stinks. It sounds like it'd be good. It's bread, onions, celery, sausage. It sounds like it'd be great.
Oysters,
It stinks.
cranberries,
It's
raisins,
bad.
all sorts of
Save
stuff.
room on your plate for the good foods like gravy, like homemade mashed potatoes with enough butter to clog all the arteries. Like gravy is the best food on Thanksgiving. There was a fight in the group chat earlier today about it. I stand by my opinion. We also have this
Homemade
little thing.
gravy?
Oh, absolutely homemade
Render
gravy.
it down to bits and pieces that stuck to the pan as you roasted it.
Mm-hmm. It's incredible stuff. My family knows how much I love gravy, and I have to go last because I use so much of it. I just kind of like, I just love gravy. It's so good. We also have this like I thought this was normal, but apparently it's not. We have like a little, not a charcuterie board, but it's like a relish tray with like baby dill pickles, olives, and stuff. And we have this
Sweet
it's
baby
this
gherkins and
it's this orange cranberry relish where it's like, like dill or sweet relish. It's like that kind of consistency, but it's cranberry and orange, and it's really good. You don't take much of it. You just take a small spoonful and you'll like put a tiny bit on your turkey. It's awesome. I can't really explain it, and it sounds really weird. And when I told my friends about it, they're like, "What the fuck is wrong with the Midwest?" Like they just don't understand. Yeah, it's good stuff. But the absolute best part about Thanksgiving, other than the gravy, is, and my wife made it this year, bless her heart, because my mom's not going to be able to make Thanksgiving. Pumpkin chiffon pudding. It's basically pumpkin pie filling with gelatin, and you whip a meringue with like super stiff peaks, and then you fold it together. Oh, buddy, it's so good. But you can't use whipped cream. It has to be Cool Whip. And it's one of the greatest things of all time. I'm really, really excited about it. I'm really excited about the gravy. And my aunt and uncle, they host Thanksgiving every year. They know how to cook a turkey. Turkey is going to be good. Good. Like actually good. So I'm really, really excited about that. It's going to be a lot of fun. I hope you guys all have a wonderful Thanksgiving. Thank you guys for joining us here on this late, we're not late, but it's the biggest drinking day of the year. Speaking of, do not drive if you're getting drunk. If you're having drinks, get a ride. It's okay.
There's people that love you that don't want you to see you.
And if you don't have to be on the road tonight, don't. Just stay off. Just stay home.
If you don't have to go to the store, don't. It's going to be a madhouse.
Yep. I'm excited. I'm really excited. It's going to be a lot of fun. We are going to have a good time. We're going to have the content will continue. I will be writing. I have a mock draft coming out tomorrow for A to Z Sports. You're going to want to check that out.
Already?
Yep.
Where have you got the Vikings picking? 32?
I just go by what the simulator is, and the simulators are using a Super Bowl odds at this point. So they're picking 28.
Okay.
I don't like to do the prediction thing because I think that's no. I don't think that's how we should do a mock draft. Because that's just going to piss people off. Doing Super Bowl odds is going to piss enough people off as it is. Who cares? It might be Tankathon. I'm just doing what PFF has their simulator at, and we're calling it a day.
Right. And it's good because why do we do mock drafts? We get to learn about the players coming out that are draftable and about what area they fit in, where we can expect them.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll have that out tomorrow morning. Thank you guys so much for joining us. And if you're listening on Thanksgiving, happy Thanksgiving. If you're listening live or later today, we hope you have a great one as well. Thank you so much. From Dave, I'm Tyler. We'll see you Saturday for Two Old Bloggers. SKOL Vikings.
SKOL Vikings. Happy Thanksgiving. Like, subscribe, and ring the bell to get notifications. It helps us grow this community that we all love our Minnesota Vikings. And on behalf of Tyler Forness and myself, Dave Stefano, thank you so dearly for watching The Real Forno Show. SKOL, everyone!